clients. So what we're going to do is the three attorneys will make remarks here first from the podium. Our client will be seated there. One of the attorneys will then sit with her while she makes her statement, speaking directly to Dr. Ortega. Once that is concluded, we're going to switch to Spanish. We have a bilingual attorney who will then come in and sit in that third chair with our client. Client will repeat her remarks in Spanish, and then that attorney will come to the podium and reiterate attorney comments in Spanish. And then we'll take questions, okay? Comments are brief, so I know we're doing two languages, but we won't be here for an eternity. I think everybody knows exactly what they need to say. Is there anything I can answer for you before we get started, before I start running through names?
There's an issue with the audio.
Yes, that is true. So,
Can she stand with the attorneys, like standing next to her, or she doesn't feel comfortable?
you know, she could. I hate to move the whole mic rake, if that would make everyone apoplectic, wouldn't it?
Well, we
It's
wouldn't
also
have
the
a way to.
distance.
And we don't need to do that.
It's also the distance where the
Sure,
stand would
sure.
be to them
Done.
at the table.
Done. We will mix it up and we'll just have them all stand. That's completely fine.
A question for you.
Yes.
So there are going to be three attorneys.
Yes.
On the release that you had sent earlier, I have 5 listed. So who are the 3?
I'm about to walk you through that. We'll make it super easy. You will first hear from attorney Tamara Holder, Tamara. Last name Holder, Holder. She is an attorney with the law firm of Tamara Holder. All the names and spellings are actually in the press release over there too. You will next hear from attorney Johanna Raimond, Johanna Raimond, from the law offices of Johanna Raimond. Next, you will hear from only one attorney from Romanucci and Blandin, and that is Stephan Blandin, Stephanblandin, and he is the founding partner, one of the founding partners of Romanucci and Blandin. Our client's name is Erica, Ericka. Last name is Matos, Matos. The attorney who will be speaking in Spanish is from Romanucci and Blandin. She is a senior attorney. Her first name is Daisy, common spelling. Last name Ayllon, Ayllon. Everybody happy?
Do you have a stamped copy for what?
Not yet. It was supposed to be filed last night, and I don't know if it got filed last evening or if it is still pending.
You mean Erica's?
Yes. Yes.
So hers is the most recent lawsuit.
It would be. Yes. Yes. It was. We were intending to go last night. I don't know if it has been filed or if there is still that to be done today or tomorrow. But if it is not on file, the intent is that it will be within hours. Okay, my friends, I will be back. We'll have everybody come in so you can get that shot. And we'll get started in just a minute.
I got it.
Really sorry.
No. It's stay.
What about that? Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Is here. She is wearing a royal blue blazer. She is with her sister, who looks very much like her, just so you can differentiate between the two.
Yeah, one second. It's only 7 minutes. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, same thing. No. Thank you.
I just, this is, I used to be able with my phone, so it wasn't in it. Yeah, it's never gonna run with you guys. That's not the intent.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
They just think it's- Yeah.
Everyone, I'm Tamara Holder. In 2019, my co-counsel, Josie Raymond, and I filed our first lawsuits against Fabio Ortega, North Shore, and Swedish Covenant Health. Since then, we have filed dozens of lawsuits against these healthcare institutions. North Shore and Swedish refused to accept liability, refused to accept their responsibility in harboring Dr. Fabio Ortega. Fabio Ortega pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting 2 women in 2021. He stood before a judge and he pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting them under the guise of providing them gynecological care. We are here today to demand justice for not only the women that we represent, but all of the women out there who do not even know that they were sexually assaulted. Why? Because Fabio Ortega confused women. We know that he sexually assaulted multiple patients day in and day out. I also want to point out that Ortega was not North Shore's first run-in with abusing patients. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, another male gynecologist at North Shore was investigated for performing unnecessary hysterectomies on women. Dozens of unwanted hysterectomies and unnecessary hysterectomies on women. North Shore knew that male gynecologists had a propensity to sexually assault women. So they cannot say that Dr. Ortega was a surprise to them. North Shore and Swedish continue to defend Fabio Ortega in these civil cases. And we are here today to demand justice for all of the women who were abused under their roof. Now we would like to present you with Erica Matos. She is our client. She was one of our very first clients since 2019. And she has come forward, the first woman to publicly show her face and make a statement.
Okay. Yes, I just want to ask Fabio Ortega directly, why is it he did that to me? I'm not afraid anymore. That makes me angry. I'm going to speak for me and for all the ladies that went through the same thing with him. We're looking for justice. I want to see Fabio Ortega face to face to tell me why he did it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our clients were sexually assaulted when they were most vulnerable by the person that they should be able to trust the most, their doctor. We represent women who Fabio Ortega sexually assaulted right after giving birth. We represent women who were sexually assaulted when they were seeking medical care because they were in pain. We represent women who were sexually assaulted by Fabio Ortega when they were going to the gynecologist for their very first pap smear. Fabio Ortega went to prison for just 1 year and for sexually assaulting just 2 women. But so many other women have not gotten justice. Not from the criminal justice system, not from North Shore University Health System, which is now Endeavor Health, not from Swedish Covenant Health, and not from Fabio Ortega. We're here today to request that justice. And we call on the Cook County State's Attorney's Office to reopen cases that were abandoned, and also to support legislation to ensure that health systems like Endeavor Health do not continue to ignore the warning signs that they have a predator in their midst. North Shore ignored complaint after complaint and red flag after red flag, and even allowed Ortega to practice medicine alone during a period that they knew he was under criminal investigation. Hundreds of women's lives and of their families' lives have been impacted by North Shore's outrageous decision to put profits before women's safety and their health. Endeavor Health still today refuses to admit that Fabio Ortega sexually assaulted any of its former patients, even the 2 patients that Fabio Ortega himself admitted to sexually assaulting in open court. And it's for these reasons that we're here today to personally demand justice, as Erica Matos has done. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Blandin at Romanucci Blandin, and I partnered up with Tamara and Josie when they asked us to get involved last year after there was a $35 million medical malpractice settlement that we had against Dr. Ortega. In that case, Dr. Ortega admitted under oath that he had pled guilty to abusing 2 North Shore patients. And we realized that Tamara and Josie were representing dozens of women that had the same allegations that were pending. Now we know there are hundreds who have come forward against Dr. Ortega. And what struck me is that Dr. Ortega, when he pled guilty in these cases, was in his 70s. I don't believe that he woke up in his 70s and started molesting his patients. And as we know from the dates, from the treatment, from the time periods, this has been going on for decades. North Shore knew about it, and their response to it has been to change their name to Endeavor Health Systems. That's not right. Representative Kelly Cassidy from the 14th District also agrees that that's not right, and she's going to be introducing a bill in Springfield that we are fully supportive in an attempt to make sure the hospitals are reporting the abuse that they are aware of and that they face criminal sanctions if they don't. And that's what this is going to take to get this to stop. This is certainly the largest doctor abuse case in the state of Illinois and perhaps in the country, and it needs to come to an end. On behalf of the women that Tamara and Josie found, and right. So without speculating as to motivations or reasons, I do know that the current state's attorney's office has not pursued criminal cases against any of these other women despite our bringing that to their attention. We're calling on that to change. We are asking that the new state's attorney that succeeds Kim Fox, and we have been in contact with Eileen Burke O'Neill, and we have asked her to take this issue up. She was shocked by the allegation. She was shocked by the current state's attorney's efforts not to undertake any further investigation, and we hope that the next state's attorney will take those actions if Kim Fox's office will not. What we've noticed is a pattern that the overwhelming vast majority of his victims have been minorities. Many of them are of Hispanic descent. Many of them are vulnerable. Many of them have felt that they would not be believed, and Dr. Ortega has taken advantage of them. In this city, the city is now, the plurality of our population is Hispanic, and abuse of minorities needs to stop. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Michelle Gallardo with ABC7. If any of you can address, I mean, obviously we've spoken about the fact that there's dozens of lawsuits, hundreds of women who have come forward with complaints, and yet only 2 charges were resulted in convictions. Is this because of the statute of limitations? And, what can you tell us about how that works in terms of, the women who are coming forward now pursuing any cases against them?
So the comments that we received from the state's attorney's office, none of it had to do with statute of limitations. It had to do with believability. And there are hundreds of women, if not thousands of women, that they'll have to answer to if they don't believe these victims.
Can we address the statute of limitations issue? Because they do have a limited time to come forward, right? So
you're talking about the criminal statute of limitations? So there are criminal statutes of limitations in terms of what they can do to pursue and proceed with those cases. Not all of his victims' claims are barred. Many of these that have gone past for decades, they may be, but not all of them. He continued to practice up until the time he went to jail.
and you're still able to file lawsuits even in older cases.
Right. The majority of these, the statute of limitations in these, you're talking about the civil cases.
Yes.
Yeah, the majority of the statute of limitations in these cases involve questions of whether or not there was fraud that was involved, and most of the conduct was fraudulently covered up. There are statutes that provide for punitive damages in this situation that go back as far as 7 years. And the majority of these women did not realize that what was happening to them was abuse at the time until they realized, they came to know that the conduct that was taking place was abuse.
Does that matter?
Of course,
Does this statute begin when they realize and not when the crime happens? Can you explain
right.
that?
Sure. Under Illinois, there are a number of exceptions to the traditional 2-year statute of limitations. There's the date of discovery. There's the date that they were aware that this took place. And many of the women that came forward initially to Tamara came forward because they saw in the news the guilty plea that he entered. And Tamara can speak to that.
What was your question? About the statute of limitations?
Yeah, and
specifically?
whether it matters when the crime happened versus when they realized, because there may be cases where they just maybe thought that this was a normal part of a gynecological exam.
Sure. So in Illinois law, there's something called the discovery rule. And the discovery rule is when you discover for the first time that you were sexually abused. So in these cases, a lot of women are just now discovering that they were sexually abused because of the news. And so for so long, they felt confused, unsure. They told their husbands or partners, and they said, I don't know, like, sounds weird to me. But they never really understood that it was sexual abuse until they saw it in the news for the first time. And at that point, they discovered. And the really important thing, and for your question, is that there are so many women out there that are still not sure, or they may be afraid to come forward. And the law is not your friend. The law does not wait on you. And so if you are out there and you discovered that you were sexually abused, rest assured that the clock is ticking against you. And North Shore and Swedish, by the way, are using that to defend this case. One of their defenses is, well, they knew. In fact, one of our clients, Jane Doe 47, who was sexually assaulted after Ortega was under criminal investigation, of course, she didn't know this, in their motions, they are saying, well, she should have known that he sexually abused her. So it's very important that North Shore and Swedish are using Ortega's conduct to say that they should have known.
So there's an irony that they're denying it happened, but claiming they should have known.
Yes.
You can speak to that.
Erica, may we ask you a couple of questions?
Go ahead.
Can you stand up?
So I'm going to be very protective of Erica.
Absolutely.
And what you asked her.
No, I understand. I understand.
Primero, Erika quiere decir unas palabras en español y después podemos hacer las preguntas. ¿Querías decir unas palabras en español a las mujeres que están al señor Fabio Ortega?
El señor Fabio Ortega, quiero decirle que aquí estoy. I'm not afraid of him. I want justice to be done. He made me, I'm not crying anymore like I used to. I'm strong right now. I want justice for me and for the rest of the ladies. And I want to do it until everything is done.
What was your question?
What I wanted to ask you, Erica, within what you feel comfortable telling us, is just about how you became a patient of his and when you realized something was not quite right in the way he was treating you.
So I think this gets into a very I mean, she can tell you when she was a patient of his. She can tell you what the original treatment was, but in terms of the details of
I don't want to talk about
she
it.
can't get into it.
Yeah, just what you're comfortable with. Just tell us how you first came to him and when you decided that you wanted to maybe, file this.
That I wanted to file.
Well, first tell me when you became a patient of his and under what circumstances.
Okay, I became a patient because I was in an ER with a ovary cyst. Then he was called and to do the operation. That's what I met him after I woke up of the anesthesia and everything. And he told me that he was in Swedish. I was in Swedish. And I thought it was a person that I can trust. So I continued seeing him. And I don't want to talk about the rest of it.
I understand.
Erica,
Okay.
can you talk a little bit about, I know you said now that you're not scared anymore and that you're strong and not
Yes, I
upset
am.
like you used to be, but can you walk us through until you got to this point and to speak for other victims, just what it has been like over the years, kind of keeping this inside? I know this is a big moment for you to speak out today. So
Okay,
what-
one of the things is that I was keeping it to myself. Nobody in my family knew what happened to me until Tamara found me. Then I decided to talk to her for the first time. I was crying. I was, it came out in my mind, in my heart, everything that it was like a horrible movie. After I got after I talked to Tamara and I knew that she understood, then I said, okay, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to I just want him to be in jail. I want him to pay for whatever he did.
Erika, I don't know if you can answer this in Spanish. As a Hispanic woman, como mujer hispana, ¿cuán difícil para usted es el ver que la mayoría de las víctimas también son hispanas y que fueron víctimas también de un doctor hispano?
Nosotras las latinas, cuando buscamos doctores, por lo regular buscamos que hablen español, ¿sí? Cuando hablan español, pues ya nos dan una confidencia. Ya sentimos que somos de la misma raza y que pues nos van a tratar así como nosotros somos. Nunca pensamos que una persona de la misma raza de nosotros, de la misma habla de nosotros, vaya a hacer estos crímenes, ¿sí? Nosotros no pedimos que él nos abuse, pero como estás con el doctor y te habla tan bonito, tú no sabes si te está abusando, si te está destruyendo y no quieres hablar, porque no quieres perder el doctor, porque no quieres perder tú la atención médica.
Before we continue any further, Daisy, would you mind summarizing the attorney comments in Spanish?
Hola, mi nombre es Daisy Ayón, soy una de las abogadas que representa a Erika y a cientos de mujeres que fueron victimizadas por el señor Fabio Ortega. Durante el curso de nuestras investigaciones, Tamara Holder y Josie empezaron estos litigios y al principio solamente había una o dos mujeres, después empezaron a haber más. Erika fue una de las primeras mujeres que tuvo el valor de hablar sobre lo que pasó y de confrontar al Fabio Ortega. Desde ese entonces, Tamara y Josie han investigado estos casos y hemos descubierto que hubo cientos de mujeres que fueron victimizadas por Fabio Ortega. Lo más horrible de esta situación es que los hospitales donde trabajaba Fabio Ortega sabían que esto estaba pasando. Hubo muchas mujeres hispanas que vinieron a los hospitales y les dijeron, Ortega nos está abusando. Pero aparte de que eran mujeres, aparte de que eran inmigrantes, también tenían miedo. Fueron mujeres que no tenían los recursos o la educación para entender que estaban siendo abusadas. Entonces Ortega empezó en este sistema a abusar a muchas mujeres y desafortunadamente lo pudo hacer porque estas instituciones lo protegieron por más de 30 años. Después hemos descubierto que a pesar de que él empezó primero con mujeres inmigrantes, mujeres que recibían ayuda de Medicare o Medicaid, Ortega pudo establecer un sistema que era tan bueno para hacer fraude a tantas mujeres que pudo abusar a mujeres blancas, a mujeres que venían para él porque tenían una condición severa y Ortega no discriminó al final del día entre sus víctimas. Lo que nosotros estamos haciendo hoy es le estamos pidiendo a las autoridades que vuelvan a investigar a Fabio Ortega. A pesar de que Fabio Ortega fue a la cárcel por un año, hay muchas mujeres que ahora sabemos desde 1991 que fueron victimizadas por Ortega y están buscando justicia, y eso es lo que nosotros también estamos tratando de ayudar. En la Cámara de Representantes en el estado de Illinois van a haber una propuesta de legislación para asegurarse de que hospitales puedan reportar a esto inmediatamente. Una de las historias que yo más recuerdo en este litigio cuando hemos estado investigando, yo fui a la casa de una de nuestras clientes hispanas y la encontramos. Y estuve fuera de su casa porque queríamos platicar con ella sobre un reporte de policía que ella hizo. Y al final, una de las preguntas que ella hizo fue, ¿por qué no nos creyeron? ¿Fue porque éramos hispanas? ¿Fue porque no había suficientes personas para hablar por nosotros? Y esa es la situación que es más triste de todo esto, que hace 20 años esta mujer hispana tuvo el valor de ir a la policía, de reportar lo que pasó con Ortega a los hospitales. Pero porque no hablaba inglés, no le creyeron. Entonces, Erika es una de nuestras clientas que está hablando por muchas de las mujeres hispanas y muchas de las mujeres que Ortega abusó que todavía tienen miedo. Muchas de nuestras clientes nos dicen que lo que ellas tienen miedo de decirles a sus familias, de que su nombre esté fuera, de que Fabio Ortega las vaya a victimizar aún más. Entonces hoy en esta conferencia de prensa estamos preguntándole a las autoridades que vuelvan a investigar este caso y estamos demandando que las instituciones de Swedish, de North Shore, que ahora se llama Endeavor Health, que ellos sean responsables y que por la primera vez en estos 30 años le crean a las mujeres que les están diciendo que fueron victimizadas.
Si tuviera a Fabio Ortega de frente, ¿qué le diría?
Le preguntaría, ¿por qué me hiciste esto? ¿Por qué yo? Si yo confiaba en ti. ¿Por qué me hiciste de mi vida? Me despedazaste mi vida. Porque no hay un momento en que eso no me venga en la mente otra vez. ¿Y cómo resolverlo? ¿Cómo deshacerlo? Yo quiero que él me diga por qué. ¿Por qué? Si yo le tenía toda la confianza del mundo.
Thank you. We have time for
Erica, if I may
one-
ask you, if I may ask you to repeat what you just said in Spanish, because I think that was really powerful in terms of what you would tell Dr. Ortega if you had it.
In English?
Why is it you did that to me? Why, if I had all the confidence in you as a doctor, and you abused the confidence, why me? Why all the ladies that are behind me?
Thank you. Time for one more question.
If I may just, I'm sorry.
Perhaps one lawyers, Terry, WBDM Radio. So Ortega served just 1 year of his 3-year sentence. And do you know why that was? Was there somebody in the prisoner review board can you speak to that at all about why?
Sure. I can speak to it. It's statutory. He was sentenced to 3 years, but he, I think, served only 50% of his time because of the crime. It wasn't a class act. He wasn't required or mandatory to serve 80% or 100% of his time. So it was just a matter of the amount of time that he was able to serve under the crimes that he was convicted of. And IDOC, the Illinois Department of Corrections, let him out based on the minimum amount of time that he was required to serve.
Was there a specific person on the prisoner review board?
He didn't go through the prisoner review board. And as somebody who has done a lot of pardons, he did not go through the prisoner review board. He didn't go through that kind of parole process. He literally served the minimum amount of time that he was sentenced to, and then IDOC let him out.
When's Erica's lawsuit actually filed? So you say Erica was one of your first clients. When was her lawsuit actually filed?
We filed her lawsuit in 2019. We then, for strategic reasons that are not for discussion today, we withdrew her lawsuit and we have refiled it today, or it's being refiled as we speak. But she was the first client that we represented on behalf of a victim of Swedish Covenant Health. She's the very first Swedish person to come forward.
Did you go to the police at all, Erica?
No.
No. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Folks, one last procedural thing.